Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Rachel Burden and Chris Mason.
Our headlines today. Closing in on the capital. The Taliban now control all the key cities of Afghanistan except Kabul.
The victims remembered. Prayers will be said this morning for the 5 people killed in Plymouth.
But questions intensify over why police returned the gun licence to the man who shot them.
Mohamed Salah makes history as Liverpool eased a victory at Norwich. He's the first player in Premier League history to score on the opening day for a 5th consecutive season.
And does fashion need to cost the earth? How to stay on trend sustainably?
Good morning. We've got a mixture of weather once again today. It'll be warm in the sunshine, particularly for southeastern parts of the UK, but there will be some patchy rain around today. Next week does settle down, but it's not particularly warm. I'll have all the details though later on.
Good morning. It's Sunday, the 15th of August. Our top story in the last few hours. Taliban militants in Afghanistan have taken control of Jalalabad, leaving just the capital, Kabul, as the only major city still in government hands.
The fall of Jalalabad, which is 90 miles east of the capital, came without a fight, according to media reports. The Taliban have swept through the country in the last 10 days following the withdrawal of American forces. Our Afghanistan correspondent Secunda Kamani reports from Kabul.
This is the very centre of Kabul. Thousands who have fled fighting across the north now live in these miserable conditions. This family escaped the violence, but say they still don't feel safe. We're thirsty, we're hungry, we have no home. Other makeshift camps are even bigger, but this, in the heart of the city, shows how quickly the country is unravelling.
We don't want to go to the back where our sisters in our education sectors, in our government sector was so war-shattered that we don't want to go back to them.
Fighting erupted around Mazar-e-Sharif. It was one of the last major cities still under government control and had been a bastion of anti-Taliban resistance. Security forces were fleeing to the border with Uzbekistan as the insurgents took it over. Whilst in Kandahar, their spiritual home, the Taliban cemented their position with a flag-hoisting ceremony. Finally addressing the nation, President Ghani didn't comment on rumours he may resign, instead simply promising to remobilise beleaguered forces.
For now, for many people here in Kabul, life is continuing more or less as normal. But the Taliban are getting closer and closer to the city, and there's increasing concern that a fierce and protracted battle for control of Kabul could be imminent.
The speed of the Taliban's advance has led to the US and UK together deploying more than 5,500 troops to Afghanistan to repatriate their citizens and many of their embassy staff. Many Afghan cities are now being handed over to the Taliban following local deals with the security forces. That may be the only way to avoid even more suffering in Kabul too, but would mean an end to life here as residents know it. Secunda Kamani, BBC News, Kabul.
Prayers will be said in churches in Plymouth today for the 5 victims of Britain's worst mass shooting for more than a decade.
It comes as a former commissioner of the Metropolitan Police says that officers should trawl through the social media accounts of people applying for a shotgun licence after questions were raised about why the gunman's permit was granted. Simon Jones reports.
Good girl. After the shock, the disbelief, the anger, today will be a time of contemplation to remember 5 lives cut short. The gunman's mother, Maxine Davison, shot at a house in Biddick Drive. Lee Martin and his 3-year-old daughter Sophie killed in the street. Kate Shepherd from Cornwall, who died in hospital. And Stephen Washington, killed while walking his dogs.
We're numb, we're heartbroken. We love our community and they're going to be very missed.
Churches have opened their doors since the attack, allowing quiet reflection. The events of Thursday evening will be the focus of services this morning, for a community struggling to comprehend what's happened. A sentiment shared by Maxine Davison's nephew, who'd never met the cousin who killed her.
It's impossible. You can't plan for this. You can't see the next day or the day after or the day after. You just literally take each day as it comes. But I just know that as a family, they will come together, be there for each other, and try to understand this horrendous thing that's happened, and also the other four innocent people that had no part in this.
A key question: why did the gunman Jake Davison have his shotgun and a licence returned to him last month, even though he'd been accused of assault and had posted hate-filled rants online?
If he was clearly that unstable, then his gun licence should never have been returned. You know, if it hadn't have been returned, then this atrocity would not have happened, and so many people wouldn't have lost loved ones.
That's now being examined by the police watchdog. A former commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Lord Stevens, has told the Sunday Telegraph that officers should trawl through the social media accounts of people seeking firearms licences to ensure guns don't fall into the hands of dangerous people. As investigations continue, so do the questions, and the community urgently wants answers. Simon Jones, BBC News.
At least 300 people have been killed by the latest devastating earthquake to hit Haiti.
Nearly 2,000 others were injured when the 7.2 magnitude tremor hit the west of the country yesterday morning. The Prime Minister said there was extensive damage and declared a month-long state of emergency. Azadeh Moshiri reports.
Hundreds killed and more than 1,000 missing in Haiti. Saturday's earthquake is another devastating blow for a country that has been dealt so many. The Prime Minister has declared a state of emergency after the 7.2 quake hit southwestern parts of the country.
We have declared a state of emergency in the west, the south, Nip and the province of Grand-Anse. We have a medical emergency. The Health Ministry has started the distribution of medicines in hospitals.
In addition to the high death toll, the earthquake has toppled homes, collapsed a school and damaged churches. Haiti is still reeling from previous disasters, including the 2010 earthquake that claimed more than 200,000 lives and the assassination of Haiti's president only 1 month ago.
As you know, Haiti is already reeling under the worst political crisis, in recent history. And, we're still recovering from the 2010 earthquake, from the Matthew natural disasters, from the imported cholera epidemic, and then now this.
Scientists in America are predicting the death toll could spike to the thousands, and US President Joe Biden has promised immediate aid to support recovery efforts. For a country left so fragile after a series of misfortunes and under threat from a tropical storm next week, that help is crucial. Azadeh Moshiri, BBC News.
In Japan, officials have told nearly 2 million people to evacuate as torrential rain continues to batter western parts of the country. At least one person has died and 3 people are missing. More than a metre of rain has fallen in the past 3 days, causing landslides and 14 rivers to burst their banks.
All 16 and 17-year-olds in England are to be offered their first dose of a coronavirus vaccine by next Monday. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, says the timing will allow teenagers to build up maximum immunity before they return to school in September. Thousands will be invited by text and letter to book their appointment at one of more than 800 GP-led vaccination sites.
A ban on all trade in shark fins in the UK has been announced by the government.
Finning is the practice of removing the animal's fins at sea and then discarding the rest of the shark. It's hoped that stopping the import and export of the fins will improve conservation, with some species of shark already critically endangered. As Graham Satchell reports.
They are magnificent creatures that have graced the Earth's oceans for more than 400 million years, but the shark population is being threatened by overfishing. It's estimated 75 million sharks are killed every year. Fishermen are after one thing, the fins. Shark fins are a lucrative delicacy, particularly popular in Far Eastern countries. When sharks are caught, the fins are removed and the animal is then discarded, often still alive, back into the sea. The practice, known as finning, was banned in UK waters more than 20 years ago. But under EU rules, the fins themselves could still be imported and exported. Now the government has banned the trade entirely.
Anything that discourages the action of shark finning, which is the removal of shark fins at sea and the discard of the carcass, is to be encouraged. This is very much the next step in a history of proactive moves by the UK, since they helped spearhead the first EU fin ban in 2003 and championed the policy of banning the removal of shark fins at sea several years before the adoption of the same policy by the EU in 2013.
The UK market in shark fins is small compared to other countries, but the government says it's sending a message that it doesn't support an industry that is forcing many species of shark to the brink of extinction. Graham Satchell, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.